Woo! I hope you guys are ready for this one, because it's kind of been a bumpy ride. Get ready for this review on this Google Pixel 3 XL, and check out the intro and just walk with me as I take a stroll along outside. So, different kind of review. You're now rocking with Rakama. Let's go. So let's talk about this display. The display on that Pixel 3 XL is it's good. It's a good display. But here's a caveat, is that it's not bright enough ultimately. I feel like I have to keep cranking up the brightness on that screen just to get something decent, you know. Normally on most of my phones I typically try to crank the brightness down to about, I don't know, halfway or maybe even a little bit less, but in this case, not quite sure why the screen is so dim. Once again, Samsung provided the display, so that's kudos to Google for going with Samsung this year, because last year they went with LG and we know the atrocity that became. So really the screen is actually pretty good on this phone, but next year, I think they could use something a little bit more efficient. Some people might blame Samsung for not giving them a better display, but who knows? At the end of the day, we the consumers have to use this device. So next up, let's talk about this battery. This battery actually went from being pretty good. I used to get like close to 6 hours on the Pixel 3 XL to now it's gone pretty bad. It's gone to about 4.5 hours screen on time, and honestly that's not a good look at all. I mean, this is once I get all my apps installed on the phone and everything. Maybe it could just be a rogue app that's doing it, but ultimately there is a problem. Like Jay Will has actually said, if you watch any one of Jay Will's videos, there's an issue with battery drain on this phone, and they really do need to pay attention to detail, because honestly it's more of a software optimization issue, and Google's supposed to be king of software, and I know that's the next topic I'm about to touch on, but yo, for the price that you're paying, I should get more battery than that, especially on the 3 XL, but battery life could definitely stand to be better. Let's talk about this software. Software, in my opinion, is kind of half-baked, but it kind of does work. I don't really have any major problems. I will say I did have a little slight RAM management issue, and that's kind of a known issue that everybody's been talking about. Yeah, once again, it does need to be addressed, but here's one thing. I mean, I do hear another complaint on the internet. People are talking about, hey, they should have put more than 4 gigs of RAM, which I'm not going to take anything away from that statement. Yeah, Google should have definitely put more than 4 gigs of RAM in this phone. But at the same time, you got mid-range phones that have 4 gigs or less that still perform pretty well. So the issue is just, it's not the amount of memory in this phone. It's more so addressing the cause of the RAM management issue. So I think overall Google did pretty good with the software. I just feel that they gave us a half-baked phone in terms of giving us some things on launch day and deciding to push things off to a later date. Like, for example, Night Sight was not available day one. Screen Call was. Google Duplex, that's coming out probably in the spring next year. And some of these things, these software things are nice to have and all, but eventually I feel Google will release these to other phones. So like, let's say for example, if you had the Screen Call, the Night Sight, and all of these features on a Note 9, question is, would the Google Pixel still be worth $900? You know, the Google Pixel XL at that. So honestly, that kind of, you know, when you have that high price tag, it kind of makes you consider other options, when eventually Google will probably port these software features to other companies. But as far as how well they work, Screen Call works pretty well. Honestly, I haven't, I guess it kind of chased off solicitors. I still get some of the same calls, but the problem is I guess they're too spooked to even respond. Anytime I do get one, I wish I had a live demonstration of that for y'all. But honestly, every time I get one, like by the time the Screen Call gives that first statement that this call is, you know, this user is actually using a Google assisted service, and they get spooked and they hang up. So I don't ever hear anything. So I guess it's working. I guess it's doing what it's supposed to do. So overall with software, I don't have any issues with performance. Yeah, they have a little RAM management issue, but it needs to be addressed. Google said they will address it at the software. But once again, I still feel like it's a half-baked attempt at doing good software. Good software is day one having good software. So we can't talk about software without talking about Google's new gesture-based system. So with this system, you have the bar and you have the back button, and you swipe up twice to go basically to your recent apps. But you know, the first time you swipe up, it's a cluster of, you know, with the swipes now. But ultimately, how I would redesign the system if I wanted to redesign it, I would get rid of the back button. I would keep things simple and just have just the bar alone at the bottom center, right? And all the interactions would just be involved with just that. I would double tap the bar to pull up my recent apps, and then I would just be able to swipe right just to go back a page. And then you can also just go ahead and hold down the pill to activate Google Now, or tap it to go home. I would have it just be just that simple. And I know it seems kind of almost like iOS-ish, but if you're going to kind of do things, you're going to try to make things a little more modernized, kind of just keep it simple. Less is more, Google. So, you know, that's just kind of my thoughts on the gesture-based setup that we have here now. And you know what? Contrary to the popular opinion about the build quality, I actually like the build quality with this phone. It's all glass, and the design doesn't annoy me as much as it did previous years, even though it still has that half glass, then it has a frosted glass look this year. You have wireless charging now finally, so that's kind of what I've been like harping on for a while. Like, Google finally has wireless charging again after they took it away because they went from the Nexus 6 and the 6P series, and then now they had wireless charging before in previous Nexus devices, and then now they took it away with the early Pixel devices. And now they finally put it back. So that's definitely a win that it has wireless charging. So kudos to Google for that. And now the design itself just feels really good in the hand. I didn't really have a lot of confidence in Google until I happened to step into Best Buy, and you can check out that video on Instagram TV. And I actually got to take a look at that in hand and actually hold it. And once you actually hold this phone, I'm telling you, you're actually going to feel that it feels good. I mean, a lot of people out there are saying that it doesn't, but I'd recommend you to go to Best Buy or any T-Mobile, I'm not gonna say T-Mobile, or Verizon store and actually go check it out and actually get the feel in hand. But overall, the way that the phone feels in your hand, the curves feel really nicely. So go check it out. The build quality, I'd say the build quality is A1 to me. So audio quality, how does it sound? Like, I'm actually gonna dare to say the speakers are actually top notch. The Pixel at 3 XL, I think, might actually trump my iPhone 10 speakers. And I'm honestly gonna do stay tuned for a comparison between the iPhone 10 and the Pixel. And I might even throw another phone up in there too, as far as who's got the best stereo speakers. But The speakers sound really good. They're loud, they're crisp. They even have a little bit of bass to them, I'm gonna be honest with you. So the speakers, they are definitely not this phone's downfall. It's actually one of its strong points. So the most important thing, or I guess the most standout thing about this phone is the cameras. So you've got two front-facing cameras. You've got one that's wide angle, and then you've got your telephoto. Then you have your single lens on the outside, so, or the rear. But the camera is definitely the standout thing about this phone. And I gotta say, I mean, that's like the reason why you would buy this phone. It's actually been labeled by The Verge as Google's phone. Actually, it's Google's camera that just happens to have a phone with it. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed with that camera. Like, every time I take shots, I'm not really disappointed. But however, with the video, I gotta say, video, it's kind of a setback. I think for me, I could never get the exposure to match the closest to what I can perceive with my eye. But overall, the camera, I mean, there's really no discussion. Like, this is one of the best cameras in town when it comes to cell phone photography. And it's a winner right there and then. So I can show you a few camera clips so you can take a look at that yourself. I really love the wide angle selfie, so you can get everybody up in that picture. And like, I went to a Comic-Con event and I took a picture with some actual illustrators for a comic book. Got everybody up in there. So it's like power, knowing that you just have such, you know, such a capability on a phone to do photos. So overall, lasting thoughts on this phone: is it actually worth that price tag? You know, these are the top two questions. Is it worth that price tag? And is it actually worth upgrading from the Pixel 2 XL? If you're like me, you probably already ditched the 2 XL just because there were actual hardware complications with that phone. And I figured, you know, hardware complications such as, for me, the screen, the blue screen, of course, and the distortion of the speakers. Those are two deal breakers for me, so I had to jump ship with that phone. And I'm pleased to say that they actually fixed those with the 3 XL. And for that, I'll actually be keeping that phone myself. But for you, should you actually buy the Pixel 3 XL? And I don't know, that's once again, that's kind of a mystery for me, you know, because that's a very, very high price tag. As I mentioned earlier, Google will more likely be porting out these software features to other phones. But if you just want to be first, leading edge to have that, like if the screen call is worth it for you, if Google Duplex, when that drops, if that's worth it for you, then, you know, by all means, cop the phone. But for right now, what are you getting day one, like when you pick up this phone? You're definitely getting a solid camera, like a banging camera at that. So there ain't gonna be no complaints with that. So I would say definitely cop it if you're a camera person. But if not, man, that OnePlus 6T is a very enticing option. But if this is your first time checking out the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that subscribe button down below, hit that like button, and stay tuned for more content on this channel. Peace.